guys seem to like to hear about them, so we're going to talk about some trade rumors here at Boston Celtics today. We got the latest on LaMelo Ball. This just came in right before we started scripting the show because we were just going to talk about Nic Claxton and Daniel Gafford potentially being Boston Celtics. But we'll break down trade ideas for all three of these guys and the latest rumors on them here as NBA trade rumors are starting to heat up. What we know about your Boston Celtics, as you're watching Celtics Today by Chat Sports, I am your host, Tyler Smith, is that the C's are going to explore trade possibilities, the market, for Anthony Simons, the guy that they brought in for the Drew Holiday trade on a $27.6 million expiring contract. That is the big chip on this Celtics roster that they will be able to at least market and shop this trade season to help shed some money and get closer and closer to that luxury tax line as they are repeaters and will face tax penalties once the season gets wrapped up. So expect Simons to be included in any trade ideas that we'll present on today's show, and that's why you subscribe to the channel, man. If the Celtics go out there and make a move, if they go out there and acquire any of these players, we're probably going to go live on the channel, but we're bringing you a video first, breaking it all down. That's why you subscribe and help us get to our next milestone of 54.5 thousand subs. Just need 66 more diehard green teamers to go down below and hit that subscribe button, and when you do, you get free Celtics content every single day. All right, so this LaMelo Ball stuff, crazy. Did not expect to be talking about LaMelo at all on today's show, but we are. Kelly Iko of Yahoo Sports dropped a bombshell story saying amidst a 4-11 start for Charlotte, Hornets star guard LaMelo Ball has grown increasingly frustrated with the organization and is open to a trade. This is insane. I mean, a guy who's looked at as the franchise player drafted back in 2020 for the Hornets hasn't really created a winning culture there so far, and now he's averaging career low numbers and requesting a trade. Kind of interesting here, and I wouldn't call it a straight-up hard request, more of a soft trade request here by LaMelo Ball, but I don't know how much ground he's got to stand on, to be quite honest with you guys. Averaging career low in points, field goal percentage, three-point percentage as well. He is making his teammates better. He is averaging nearly 10 assists per game. That's a career high number for LaMelo, but I mean, just throughout his entire career, what has he been? An inefficient shot chucker who puts up a ton of box score stats and doesn't win a whole heck of a lot of basketball games. However, this season with the Hornets, he is, I guess, making a winning impact. The Hornets on the floor are 17.3 points better per 100 possessions with LaMelo out there offensively. So, yeah, of course they don't want to get rid of the guy, but with him being super frustrated, it might just be a matter of time with his days being numbered in Charlotte. So what does a trade look like to the Boston Celtics for LaMelo? Well, obviously, you would have to include Anthony Simons here, and then to match the rest of LaMelo's $37 million that he makes this season, you would have to include Sam Hauser, with his $10 million contract, as well as Xavier Tillman with his near minimum deal at around $2.5 million. And obviously, with LaMelo being a young player here, still a lot left to offer in his NBA career and a lot more room left to improve, you would have to include some draft capital as well. So 2 first-round picks would be going in Charlotte's way if this deal were to get done. What do you guys think? Should the Celtics trade for LaMelo Ball? I mean, just knowing what you know about LaMelo, knowing about the overall culture that he brings to a basketball team, whether that's for better or for worse, should the Celtics go out there and trade for him? T for trade, P for pass. Comment down below what you guys think. Do I think so? No, not really, to be honest with you guys. I just don't think LaMelo Ball is a winner at this point in his career. Yeah, he's only 24 years old, but he's 5 years in the league at this point. Like, we kind of know what LaMelo Ball is, a good player on bad basketball teams, and I just don't want to bring that to Boston at this point. So we're going to talk about some other players who I think could contribute to Boston here as winning players. Now, with the Dallas Mavericks, we've heard and made a video on it yesterday, actually, about them being kind of open to a fire sale here, selling everything on their roster outside of Cooper Flag. The reports are coming out that they're open to making changes, specifically trading Anthony Davis. But if they're going to trade Anthony Davis, that probably means that they're open to trading the rest of the players on the roster, not number 32. Daniel Gafford, I think, is one of those guys who could be traded. Rival execs around the league, there's reports coming out that people believe Gafford is the most realistic trade candidate for these Dallas Mavericks, at least for what contenders could go out there and acquire from this roster. And it makes sense, right? They have big men down low, especially Anthony Davis, who's going to be hard to move in this league, and Derek Lively, who they probably want to keep a little bit more long-term than Daniel Gafford here. Although Gafford is on a 4-year deal right now with the Mavs, entering a 3-year extension next season. And look, man, I love Daniel Gafford. I would love to bring him to Boston. You know what he's giving you night in and night out. Going to be basically 10 points, close to 10 rebounds, and a block or two every single time he steps on the floor. A great lob threat, a great screen setter, just an overall strong physical presence down the low block. I love Daniel Gafford. He's not going to try to be something that he's not either. He's not a three-point shooter or floor spacer by any means, but absolutely a physically imposing presence near the basket. Next, we're going to get into a Daniel Gafford trade idea. What's it going to take for him to come to Boston? And then we'll get to talking about Nic Claxton. What about him? And does he project better as a fit in Beantown? We'll talk about that in just a moment. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor on today's video, as this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So get started with the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America with $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 and download Prize Picks today. Like I said, it's the best daily fantasy sports app because of the features that they offer. But before I tell you about the features, I'll tell you how it works. All you guys got to do is pick 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Whether it's basketball, baseball season when that comes around, hockey's going in full swing, football season still at this peak right now. You can mix and match all these different sports. And like I said, the features are unmatched. Yes, they have stacks. So if you want to take multiple stat projections from the same player, like Derek White points, Derek White assists, Derek White rebounds, put them all in the same lineup separately, you can do so only on Prize Picks. It's also becoming a social event as well, where you can follow other creators, follow your friends, follow celebrities, and even copy their picks into your own using the brand new feed tab. My picks for tonight's football action: I got AJ Epinesa more than 0.25 sacks, James Cook more than 75.5 rushing yards, and Woody Marks more than 74.5 rushing plus receiving yards. You can tail my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. And remember, new users can get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. You just got to use our promo code CLNS. So download the app today. Use that code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Alrighty, we got a Daniel Gafford trade idea, and it is a doozy. We're going with a 3-teamer here because it is just so damn difficult to make trades in this NBA, especially when you're dealing with apron teams like the Celtics and the Mavs. The C's will get Daniel Gafford in this deal, along with creating a $27 million trade exception for Anthony Simons, who goes to Dallas in this deal, along with Haywood Highsmith, currently on the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Nets, they just participate in this deal because they're a financial facilitator here. They have a ton of open money. They can absorb extra back in a deal. So they bring on Klay Thompson. I wonder if this trade were to go down, would they just buy his contract out? Dwight Powell as well, and then Yamader, the rights to him, he's never been in the NBA yet, drafted way back when by the Celtics. They'd also get 3 second-round picks and some cash. Let's just break this trade down. Why did the Celtics go out there and make this deal? Well, they solidify their center position. That's just kind of the gist of it. It's nothing too complicated. Like, they get a guy in Daniel Gafford who isn't a player who gets injured. He is a guy who's going to be your starting center next to Tatum, next to Brown, next to Derek White for the next half decade on a less than $20 million a year contract. So that's just the gist of it. They get a good player in Daniel Gafford. Now, it takes 3 to tango in this scenario, so why do the other 2 teams do it? Well, Dallas, they're shifting towards Cooper Flagg. They're shifting towards a rebuild. They want to get rid of as much money as they possibly can. So how do they do that? They acquire Anthony Simons and Haywood Highsmith here, 2 guys on 1-year deals, and they get off of that money after this summer. I can start really just trying to formulate what they want this roster to look like around Cooper Flagg. You get out of Daniel Gafford, then they probably end up making more trades after this as well. Why does Brooklyn do it? Well, they're just doing it for fun, to be quite honest with you. Plus, they get 3 second-round picks out of it. Like, Brooklyn needs every extra dart they can get. We just saw them have 3 first-round picks in this past draft and didn't do anything with it. I'm pretty sure they actually had 4 first-round picks, and they were all pretty bad. So you need to give Brooklyn as much ammo as they possibly can to kind of just build some semblance of a legitimate basketball team here. So they'll participate, bring out some expensive deals that'll expire here over the next few, and they'll get some second-round picks out of it. Would you guys make this trade? Let me know in the comment section right now. A for accept, D for decline. If you would bring Daniel Gafford to Boston, essentially just for Anthony Simons. I mean, maybe a couple second-round picks. A for accept, D for decline. We'll keep it with the Brooklyn Nets here, as Nic Claxton could be on the trade block as well. I think if we just ranked all 3 of these guys in a vacuum as far as my number, where I would have them on my trade targets list, Nic Claxton would be near the top of any list, to be quite honest with you. Athletic, switchable, shot blocking rim protector down low that I think is getting better and better every single year. He's averaging a career high in points per game this year in nearly 15. He's an elite rebounder as well. We got assists up there, but just know that this guy is averaging nearly a double-double every single night. He's also protecting the rim at a super high rate, nearly 2 blocks every single time he's out there on the floor. Like, the fit for Nic Claxton would just be awesome, to be quite honest. And a trade to Brooklyn would be pretty easy, honestly. If you just boiled it down to this, like, you could just do Anthony Simons and a couple of picks for Nic Claxton. But what do we know about the Celtics and their trade pursuits this year, and especially in terms of moving Anthony Simons? They don't want to bring on long-term money, which Nic Claxton is, and they also want to shed some money and get closer to that luxury tax line because they're going to get hit with repeater penalties after the season is up. Trade straight up for Nic Claxton wouldn't do that. Claxton only makes about $25 million, but that would only create about $2 million in space for Boston. They would still hit the penalties at the end of the year. So how about we get a third team involved again on this trade and bring in Nic Claxton and Andre Jackson Jr. of the Milwaukee Bucks? Yes, the Bucks are getting involved in this one, and the Nets are assembling maybe the most unethical group of hoopers of all time. They get in Anthony Simons, they get in Kyle Kuzma, and then they have Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr. there as well. What a roster that would look like in Brooklyn. But they would also get some picks for this deal as well. For sending away Nic Claxton, bringing on these bad deals, they would get a Milwaukee Bucks swap in 2032, and they would get a 2031 pick from the Celtics, a top 5 protected first. Why does Boston do this one? The Bucks, by the way, get Sam Hauser in this deal, so maybe some Celtics fans will have some hiccups with that. But the C's get a more switchable defender than Daniel Gafford is, a more athletic player, and a younger guy at that. And Nic Claxton, a little bit more expensive, but I think he's a better fit overall. And they're shedding a little bit more money than they would in the Gafford deal if they were to make this thing happen with Brooklyn. Now, why does Brooklyn go out there and get the deal done? Well, they're in a position where they just need to rebuild fully and get as many picks as they possibly can. And we said it before, like, go get as many firsts as you possibly can. They get another first from Milwaukee here that's probably going to be in a better spot with probably Giannis being out of town by then. They get the first-round pick from Boston this deal. Like, it makes total sense for Brooklyn to go out there and make this happen. Nic Claxton's not going to win them a championship anytime soon. Why does the Bucks do this? Well, they want to keep Giannis in town as long as possible. So I think you get off the horrific Kyle Kuzma deal and just an addition by subtraction by getting him off the roster, and you surround Giannis with more shooting here. I think Sam Hauser is worth a first-round pick from Milwaukee if they're getting rid of Kyle Kuzma in the deal. So I think everybody wins in this scenario. With that said, though, given what you have to send away to acquire each one of these two players in Gafford and Nic Claxton, what would you guys want to trade for? Who would you trade for here? DG for Daniel Gafford, NC for Nic Claxton. Given what you have to give up, because you have to give up Sam Hauser and a first in order to get up Nic Claxton, who would you guys trade for? Comment down below what you guys think, because that will do it for today's edition of Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Give me a follow over on Twitter at Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. YouTube.com/CelticsTV for the latest and greatest on your C's all season long. We'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, let's go C's.